Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, September 15th, and we're all here with the gang on Coffee and Pan Dulce. And good morning, Christian. Good morning, Melba.
Good morning. Hey, happy Hispanic Heritage Month.
Good morning.
Yes. Starts
Yes,
today,
yes,
right?
that's right. Hispanic Heritage Month starts today. It ends on October 15th. So we are on the first day of it. And tomorrow is 16, Mexican Independence Day, who people confuse with Cinco de Mayo. So we'll talk about that later on at the end of the show. But I just thought that was something that we've talked about. Anyway, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee Pan Dulce. I'm Christian Cano, one of your co-hosts, along with Mama Ruth, Jenny-Jaymes Gunn, Stephen DeFiore, and Barb Bacon. We hope Barb Bacon will be joining us here. I know she's doing so much volunteering for her neighborhood, and she's not been able to make the last couple of shows, but she said she was going to join us today, so she may be popping in here. I hope, or we'll be all getting messages that she can't sign in, her internet's down. So one of those two. Let's see, today is, you said that already, right? Today.
Yeah, I did. Good morning.
September, it's one of those days. September 15th, first day of Hispanic Heritage Month. We want to welcome everyone. Let's get this started. We'll go around the Brady, but well, first let's salute to Coffee and Pan Dulce. If you, whatever you're drinking this morning, salute to Coffee and Pan Dulce. Also, we want to thank our Pan Dulce sponsor supplier, Manolo's Bakery. Manolo's Bakery on Central Avenue. There's a concha and a half-eaten, three-fourths eaten cookie there, which I'm going to finish during the show. And we want to, Manolo's Bakery on Central Avenue, please visit your Black and brown small businesses or any small business as we come out of this global pandemic. Order takeout, do whatever you need to do on the safe, safely as you can. So now let's go around the Brady Bunch screen and talk slowly, since I have to share us on our platforms today. Introduce yourself and your imaginary button. We'll start with you, Jenny, if you don't mind.
Okay. Hi, I'm Jenny-Jaymes Gunn, a community advocate for several organizations, including Charlotte Pride, which we're hoping to have in October, pandemic willing. I'm also a board member of the National Organization for Women, Charlotte chapter. I'm primarily a LGBT liaison for that board, and I also do a lot of the community planning and events and things like that. And it's a whole lot of fun. And in fact, that journey all started with Melba very much welcoming me to that organization and making sure that I felt included, which traditionally a lot of organizations that are feminist organizations aren't always inclusive. I can say from my experience with the National Organization for Women, Charlotte, that they are very ultra inclusive to LGBT and welcomed me with open arms, as they would with all trans people, gay men, lesbians, everybody in our rainbow. I've never ever doubted that. So it's a hats off. That kind of culture starts with the leader, which Melba is the president of that organization, has been for several years, and has done a phenomenal job of leading our board and leading our organization in a dignified and social justice warrioress frame of mind. And I'm proud to call her my friend and colleague, and so excited to have her on today. Melba, if you introduce yourself and tell us why you're here.
All right, thank you. And thank you for the invitation to be here today. Today I'm wearing a different hat from the National Organization of Women's hat. I am also the ministerial coordinator for Wedgewood Community Church. Wedgewood is a community church. It is a lay-led church, meaning we do not have a full-time hired minister that speaks every single Sunday. We have a variety of speakers, and that's my responsibility. I am in charge of the service. We are quite different in that we welcome all people. We have progressive Christians, the majority, but we also have Muslim members, Buddhists. We work with the Atheist and Agnostic Society on events. We welcome Hindus. We have speakers from all those different groups so that we can learn from each other and learn to respect each other's different beliefs. So I am thrilled to be here. Thank you again very much for the invitation. And let me just say, today I speak for myself. I am not speaking for every single member at Wedgewood. although we're all on the same vein of being open and welcoming and affirming. But I speak for myself because we have a variety of beliefs and ideas at Wedgewood, and we respect all of them. So thank you.
Barbara Bacon is joining us today. Hey, good morning,
I had to
Barbara.
use my phone. I'm like, I'm gonna try my phone. I'm just, my laptop's going in the backyard.
Oh no. Introduce yourself, Barb. We just started.
Okay, hi, I'm Barb Bacon. I'm I would say all around volunteering to do too much lately. I don't have enough hours in the day here in South Charlotte. Happy to be back. I will tell you, it's been a struggle.
Well, it's great to have you. We've missed you. And every time I look at my yard, I think about you because I've given up. So I know what you're going through now. I've tried to keep it alive, and I've said, nope, I'm going to save the water.
That's right. Mine's brown and crunchy. That's it. I'm done.
Yeah, well, try again next year. I'm Christian Cotto. Once again, as we've mentioned, one of your co-hosts. My buttons are Trust Women, also Healthcare for All, Medicare for All, Moms About Action, Gun Sense Legislation was on their call last night, their monthly meeting. Great organization, wonderful ladies and men who volunteer their times to help pass gun sense legislation, but also educate people about responsible gun ownership. A lot of the members are gun owners, and responsible gun ownership, locking guns up. The majority of people who are killed with guns are through I think it's suicide. And so, there's a lot of movements, and they also want to help educate kids, especially with what's been going on here in the Charlotte region with these shootings. Most of those guns are either stolen or family members' guns. So, we've had them on the show as well. And also, Joe Oldham is always in my heart, who was a guest of ours who died at a very young age, who was just way beyond his years here. So today's topic is religion dumbing down America? We've been waiting to do this show since we started doing this show almost 3 years ago. And we finally got enough guts to actually do this show. So we're going to find out how this is going to go. But before we do that,
Speak for yourself. I would have done it 2 years ago.
I know. Before we do that, let's talk about current events very, very quickly. We spend just a little bit of time on current events. 3 current events. If you want to comment, you can. If not, you don't have to, in 30 seconds or less. Governor Newsom won his election yesterday. He won overwhelmingly. They were trying to recall him in California. They said it was a statement on him and mask mandates and so forth, and he won. What do you think about that? Governor Abbott, one of the crazy governors besides Florida, has been, I guess, trying to be the state's daddy or something. He said the problem in our states is you families aren't going to church, and which is very appropriate for the show. So he was giving all my family members lectures about how to raise families in Texas. And then the last one is our I don't know how to say this without laughing. Mecklenburg County Board of County Commissioner Chairperson Dunlop, I think, made some type of statement that Jesus wouldn't wear a mask, or maybe you guys can help me if that's correctly. So if you want to comment on those, you can. So let's, but by the way, they passed 5-4 to require worship places of worship to wear masks as well, and some other things as well. And he was against that. So, all right, but anybody want to comment on those?
You want me to lead off?
Yeah, go ahead, Jenny.
First of all, congratulations, Governor Newsom. He won by more of a margin than he did in 2018 when he was running for re-election. The GOP should pay the cost back of the $268 million that they tried to scam the people of California out of a phenomenal leader and governor that believes in science, believes in people's reproductive rights, and believes in the Constitution. And that's what you get. And the state of California should sue the GOP and the scam artists and flim-flam people for that. And the GOP should reach into their pockets and pay that $268 million. Just they're trying to steal an election. Second, governor of Texas, he's a hot mess. Yesterday, after he's talking about churches and stuff like that, they had to shut the power down for 500,000 residents in Texas. So don't worry about people going to churches. That's their constitutional right, whether they want to go or not. We have freedom from religion. Just in case you're wondering, Governor Abbott, in case you actually read the Constitution and know what's in it.
Yeah.
The second thing is, why don't you go by the same regulations as the rest of the 49 states about power and electricity? And guess what? I bet the lights stay on. I bet you anything they stay on, dum-dum. Third thing, Commissioner Dunlap, look, here's the thing. Just because Jesus would or would not do it doesn't mean that even applies to 2021. They didn't have cars back when he was walking the earth. They didn't have airplanes either. So Jesus wouldn't have flown in a plane. He wouldn't have driven in a car. So masks don't apply to Jesus, okay? He walked on water and he fed people with fishes and loaves. Let's leave it at that. It's an amazing story, but it has nothing to do with health codes now. Yeah. Wear a mask and get over it. Believe in the signs. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else want to comment?
I will.
Go ahead, Barb.
Yay for the governor of California. I tried to stay awake to see what happened, but I was pretty sure he was going to win. And I was happy that, what's his name? Larry, whatever his name was that was running against him. Actually, thank you. He was very polite and said, congratulations, and he won. And I was like, wow, maybe hell just froze over. I'm not sure. But anyway, Texas, yeah, I'm with Jenny. What a mess. I feel sorry for my relatives that are there, but I don't have anything to do with them anymore. So too bad. And I don't know anything about the George Dunlap thing. I have been really deficient on local news, so I'll read up on it later. Thank you.
Melba, do you want to even comment on any of those? All right. Okay. All right. So that's always the safe way. I agree.
Y'all said it all.
Okay. All right. Governor Newsom, I thought, I think we were
on the coffee table now, Christian.
Oh, excellent.
I look up everything the people say now. I'm being the fact checker.
Exactly. That's exactly what I had to start doing after Sarah Palin was nominated to be vice president. She was saying stuff like the Constitution. I was like, I don't remember that. So I started reading the Constitution ever since then, and I carry it everywhere I go. And I credit her for that because I'm like, that's not what it says.
That's right.
I was like, does it really say that? Yeah. All right. So Governor Newsom, I am happy. I think it was a moment for the United States that this is the direction that we want to go. And I think it's a warning sign for Republicans that they're in a lot bigger trouble than they think they are in 2022, that the country has made a decision. We want to be safe. We want rational people, running for office. Are we going to have those exceptions? Of course we are. Are we going to have Dan Bishops? Yes, we are. Our Marjorie Taylor Greens? Yes, we're always going to have those. We've had them through our entire history, but the majority of people, I think, have a little common sense. Governor Texas and Abbott, this is concerning to me because I'm actually going to Texas for the first time in 3 weeks next week, and I'm going to mask up around everyone. May have to carry a bubble around where I go. And I do think that it is interesting that the governor in Texas and the governor in Florida, DeSantis, I saw the op-ed that conservative people in Florida wrote about the governor DeSantis trying to be like a little dictator in a state where they proclaim freedoms. And it is so hypocritical that the governor is trying to tell people what to do on certain things, but then saying, our freedoms are this, but then telling women what to do. It's very hypocritical. And I think most people are seeing that. And County Commissioner, I didn't know about that until right before the show. Bless his heart. I've said this before. George Dunlap is so I don't know.
That says it all, Christian.
Yeah, it's just, you see things like that and you go, how did he? I don't know. He was a police officer, I think, at one time. He's not a very bright person. He's more of a character, and I think that's what has gotten him elected. But I do think that even people in his own district, he's not right in the head. He's a little off. Anyway, so that's kind of what I think. So Jenny,
he's the inspiration for term limits right
Yes.
there.
Oh, no.
I mean, if you ever needed term limits in local government, he is the absolute textbook case of why you need term limits, because I believe politicians, as Robin Williams said, are a lot like diapers.
Yeah. You got to change
They
them
need
all
to
the
be
time.
changed often, and they're usually full of poop.
Well,
And so you need to have a built-in protection for the people, so that kind of craziness is not served up all the time.
Yeah, go ahead.
I did want to move on to our main topic.
Yes.
But I wanted to lead with saying what freedom of religion covers, because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding of what freedom of religion is and what it isn't, because I think that's what is causing the dumbing down of America, which I wholeheartedly agree with the topic. Freedom of religion covers going to a house of worship of your choice, practicing the religion of your choice in your home, community activities, outreach, charity, public preaching, which is freedom of speech, which is where freedom of religion comes from. Choosing not to participate in religion at all, meaning you don't have there's not a state religion. We don't have to practice Catholicism like like they did in the Renaissance and all that. What it doesn't cover: dictating civil law based on religion, using religion as an exemption from civil laws that you don't like. So using religion to deny other people's civil rights under civil law, using religion as a shield from criticism. Denying religion the right to dictate to everyone does not constitute oppression. So it actually keeps us from having an oppressive religious state or a theocracy, similar to what you see in Iran, what you see in Israel, what you see in many countries, where their chief religion, their dominant religion, is also dictating policy, like you see in many European countries for so long. It creates a colonizer mentality and an oppressive mentality because it's unchecked, and unchecked power, as we all know, usually gets abused. And that's why we have three branches of government. That's why we have a courts, a judiciary, a legislative, and an executive branch in all states and on the federal level, is to check and balance those things. That's why we had business reforms in the early 20th century, like antitrust laws and the Sherman Antitrust Act and so many other things, where large corporations were abusing everyday Americans. And we can't, as we saw in the non-discrimination ordinance fight, we saw unchecked hate and how those people got up there that were against giving us the dignity of equal rights here in Charlotte. We saw the venom. We saw the outright, even the city council, multiple city council members said, that's not my Christianity. That's not my Jesus. That's not, like, they were shocked at how much hate was being spewed from these people like Flip Brenham that falsely represents Christianity. I do believe that there is beauty in the Bible. I do believe some of the stories in there are inspiring and beautiful. But when you try to weaponize it and take away people's ability to live safely, for us to return back to some sort of normalcy, and then literally some of the policies and things they're saying about science and safety are literally contributing to people's deaths, something has to be checked.
So Jenny, that was thank you for sharing that, and I know what you had said. That was a posting that we both had seen, and I thought that was a great explanation of kind of messaging down. But let's go around the Brady Bunch screen and tell us what you think. The reason we wanted to talk about this was because I think there's no secret that as we look around America over the last 5 years, maybe it's been going on longer, it just seems like the last 4 years it was really ramped up. It just seems like we've elected some of the dumbest people, and with the school board meetings debating masks, some of the dumbest parents are talking in trying to override the common sense of experts in science and doctors. And it just seems like people who are being, I don't know. And so the natural thing is, what is causing this? We don't know. Is it public education? Is it religion? So now we know a polling came out this summer that said that only about 47% of Americans go to church. It's the lowest it's ever been since they started doing the polling in America. It was always in the 60s and 70s, is now it's down to 47%. And what I have always said is, you know, the human beings here on earth were given the task of doing the marketing for Jesus. And they've done such a terrible job that people are going, I don't want anything to do with that. Y'all crazy. So I don't know. Go around the screen. And full disclosure, I'm a recovering Catholic. I'm Lutheran, so I'm Catholic light. I am a person of faith, or I consider myself to be a person of faith. I was raised in a Catholic family. All of our family, Lutheran or Catholic. Some of them are now evangelical, a couple of them. So tell us what you think. Let's start with you, Melba, and then Barb. Tell us what you think, and then Jenny, what do you think about this? And we'll ask a couple of questions as well.
Okay, I come from a long line of Baptist ministers. My grandfather was a Baptist minister, my great-grandfather was a minister, and my father was a Baptist minister. So I have been immersed in religion, Baptist religion, pretty much most of my life. Although my father was a very progressive minister, very involved in civil rights, social justice during his time, and was really way ahead of his time. So that's where I get my passion, was from the example he set, not the words he said, but the example that he set. So it's kind of ingrained in me. Then I kind of got fed up with religion for a while and didn't go to church anywhere after a couple of churches in Charlotte that I left because of issues I could not sit in a pew comfortably with. Became a Unitarian Universalist, and then I found Wedgewood through Chris Ayers, and have taken over, since he retired, taken over leadership at Wedgewood Church, which is a much more opening and welcoming church. I think the church has a lot to do with what's going on in America today, and the dumbing down, I will call it, of America. I want to read to you something that was written or said by 19th century evangelical revivalist Charles Finney. Now keep in mind, 19th century. If there is a decay of conscience, the pulpit will be responsible for it. If the public press lacks moral discernment, the pulpit is responsible for it. If the church is degenerate and worldly, the pulpit is responsible for it. If the world loses interest in Christianity, the pulpit is responsible for it. If Satan rules in our halls of legislation, the pulpit is responsible for it. If our politics become so corrupt that the very foundations of our government are ready to fall away, the pulpit is responsible. 19th century revivalist minister. I think that says a lot, and I will close with that right now.
Wow.
Thank you, Melba. Barb, what do you think?
I've never heard that. Thank you, Melba. That was awesome. Like you, Christian, I was born and raised Catholic. And at times I felt like it was shoved down my throat, and I really became a rebellious teenager. But I throw out this question when we're with people that I'm most comfortable with. I said, what happened to separation between church and state? I don't get it, and I don't understand how God-fearing people have become what they've become. I have turned off my television. I watch very little news now because it makes me sick. It makes me so upset and frustrated that it's just not worth it. Art and I don't talk about it. My brother and I do talk about it because we share the same views, but I can't talk to my other brother. He's a Republican. And as far as he's concerned, all Democrats are devils, and I'm like, where did this come from? Well, I can't talk about it. And now my sister has a problem with mandating the vaccine. I said, you're immunocompromised and you don't want people vaccinated. I said, I give up. I'm not even talking about this anymore. So I just don't understand it. And I give up trying to understand it. I'm just going to live my life, and the hell with all of them. I don't know what else to do.
Hey,
It
Barb,
keeps me awake at night.
yeah, Barb, we're gonna play some videos in a moment, but also to talk about the vaccine, how this leads into the vaccine. But before we talk about how it leads into the vaccine, Jenny, you want anything else you want to add? I know you do, but
Oh yeah. This is one of my favorite subjects.
okay.
As somebody that was raised Missouri Synod Lutheran, I'm like Melba. I come from a long lineage of ordained Lutheran pastors, including I had a great uncle that was the president of the Lutheran Church in Texas.
Whoa.
I come from actual Lutheran Missouri Synod royalty. I'm a heathen. I'm an atheist. I have absolutely zero. I believe that there's probably a universal spirit out there, made of energy and beauty, and I think our world is beautiful enough. I don't think we need to have some kind of patriarchal dictator father figure, telling us what to do. And I also believe. I love what a Patton Oswalt's comedian quote is. He says, people that cite the Bible, and he says it's a cool book, has some wonderful passages, but it also has ghost sex, giants, super babies, and demons. It's why we don't make laws based on Game of Thrones, My Little Pony, or The Legend of Zelda video game, is because we don't use the occult and the unexplainable and burning bushes to justify our laws. Our laws are based on science and logic. And why? Because the scientific method actually breaks down every scenario and can prove it or disprove it, but there's actual fairness to it. And there's no fairness to religion. Religion itself is based on belief, and you can't legislate belief. That's where you get into this danger still, because my belief and your belief could be radically different. Our interpretation of the Bible and these different Bible colleges interpret, because if you listen to the Mormons versus what the Catholics believe, they don't even sound similar. Okay. And so when you get into the weeds and you start having elected officials legislating or using their religious beliefs to make their decisions and make policy, well, what do you believe? Because when the words come out of your mouth, like George Dunlap, for example, talking about mass and Jesus, or Governor Abbott saying people, we're failing because, and trying to blame the people of Texas instead of him doing his job, which was regulating power companies so they don't freeze to death or have a heat stroke in our house because you can't keep the lights on, and you're sitting there projecting your own failures as a governor. He's an absolute abject failure. Delta is taking over the state, and he still won't do a mask mandate or a vaccine mandate, and won't support President Biden, an elected official. We have to at some point sit back and go, is this unchecked power serving us? Has religion bled over into areas that aren't in their lane?
Well,
and therein lies your issue.
Jenny,
that's the kind of church and state. Come on.
No, that's kind of what we want to talk. Go ahead. No, go ahead, Melba.
So, religion has become a pass-fail institution. Believe what I believe. I'll tell you what believe. We've cracked the God code. We've got it. And I'll tell you what it is. Believing the right thing is everything. It's not anymore as much about what you do and how you live your life. You've got to say this prayer. You've got to believe this creed. You've got to believe what I do. The word being right and being a righteous person has become very confused.
You know,
And so
Melba,
when something comes from the pulpit, God will save you. Don't get vaccinated. You don't need a mask. That's the right. That's right. That's the word to many, many people in this country. Many people.
Melba, you hit the nail right on the head. What I've noticed, many of us, I know Jenny's a very good observer. She's been a human observer for her entire life, which is why she's so good at what she does. And so many of us, especially if you're in the LGBTQ plus community, there are certain traits that we've learned to do just to survive. We've learned to observe how to survive in this group, whatever, because if you don't, you don't survive. You know, so you have to observe. You want to know what's going on. One of the things I've noticed is a lot of people that I've met and I've known, family members who are older, who are religion is important in their life, their faith is important in life. What I've noticed, it's about how they live, how they want people to see them as. That seems to be more important to them than the church they go to. Even though they do go to churches, it's always about, you know, am I living a good life? Am I being a good person? And so forth. That seems to be, that was the culture then. Today, it seems like religion is used as a scapegoat for not being held accountable for what you do. So it's so easy for people, especially Gen Xers, to say, pray for me, pray for this. Instead of doing it themselves, they think that the prayer is somehow going to answer the questions because of things they did not do. And it's really highlighted in politics. And let's talk about that for maybe 5 or 6 minutes. In politics, it's so easy for you to screw up, steal, murder, do whatever, cheat on your spouse, do whatever you want to, and then find Jesus the next day and you're saved. And so you have all, especially in the Republican Party, and the Democratic Party will hold them accountable, you kick them out. And the Republican Party, honey, just get saved. And then, you know, you find Jesus and I've seen my light, and then you're suddenly, you know, not held accountable for what it's like suddenly we give them a pass. And so that seems to be how it's being used today. And especially with people who are making mistakes. And back in the day, we would hold them accountable. Yeah, you can be a person of faith, but you still got to be held accountable for what you did. But today we're like, okay, they found Jesus. I don't know, Jenny, look, you want to say something?
Kristen, here's the thing is that and I'm talking about the leadership, not the rank and file people that follow these religions and attend these church business meetings. It's and I'm talking about the policy makers, the rich and the powerful that are driving this. They set the stage 40 or 50 years ago when they started talking about this religious freedom and basically trying to make it exceptional and build in an excuse like, okay, well, you're violating my religious freedom. You're violating my rights, and my freedoms. And you're keeping me from being connected to God because you're a gay couple and you want to buy a cake or whatever. And I think they set that stage under Nixon and Reagan, especially, and you saw that call to Christianity, and that's that's why they have a problem with people of the Islamic faith moving here, because they're like, oh, they're going to create Sharia law, which is a myth. But we're seeing people trying to base our laws on Christianity, which is also theocratic. And so that they don't have to have the accountability. So they have this deal, and what we're really coming down to, and there's a direct correlation. I saw several studies. The 20 most violent, poorest, least educated states are also the most religious. Well, and there's a direct correlation between violence and religion. Because here's the thing, when you set up a deal where I can be forgiven for whatever I want, I don't have any accountability, I don't even have any government, I don't answer to God, not government. When you get to that point where you're not accountable to your neighbors, and you can pull out the Jesus card every time, and nobody checks you on that, you have a problem. And these large churchtainment type operations have unchecked power and influence over a specific political party, the GOP QAnon party. And even QAnon is based on religion. and they quote it often. And here's the thing: the Bible's not the Constitution. They have two different functions.
So Jenny, go ahead.
I was just going to say, related to what Jenny's saying, being a good person is not going to get you to heaven. Only accepting Jesus will. No matter how good of a person, how much good you do, how many people you help, how you live your life, you still have to accept Jesus. So they premise that God would rather have someone who accepts Jesus and gives him a 90-second lip service on Sunday morning, but goes out and does whatever they want to and has contempt for immigrants and the LGBT community than a good, kind, loving Muslim. That God prefers that type of Christian just because they accept Jesus.
Yep.
That's what this has come down to. That's what it's come down to for the Christians.
So Melba,
Christians.
Melba, what you said once again just resonates with me so well, because it's what Jenny said about kind of the history of how Christian Americans have been conned by politicians by saying, all you have to say is, I'm a person of faith, I'm Christian. Well, they must be a good person, because older generations just assumed they were good persons because it meant something different to be practicing. Today,
and look at Jim Baker and Jimmy Swaggart.
Yeah, I know.
Jimmy Swaggart gets on TV and goes, "I'm sinned and I'm so sorry that I had those hookers in my hotel room." But
one of the best messages we ever had at Wedgewood Church was from Kyle Kushik of the Atheist and Agnostic Society. And we work with them during the month on feeding the homeless, giving the homeless things and items that they need. But that was the best message, one of the best we have ever had, came from him. So,
hey, Jenny, real quick. Yeah, Jenny, 30 seconds or less. Go ahead, because I want to switch to another subject real quickly.
I think when you remove accountability to your fellow neighbors, no matter what it is, whether it's religion, whether it's business, whatever, and you don't operate from a space of transparency, aka Jerry Falwell Jr. and the pool boy scandal, when you don't live your truth and you don't live accountable to your fellow, humans, it always gets you in trouble. And when you have that absolute power, we all know that absolute power will always corrupt, and no matter what the subject is.
So the question, we're going to move to something different now about religion, but we were talking about politics. I mean, I think we've had this conversation before, Jenny, that religious groups and churches, in my view, have just become non-tax-paying political groups. That's really all they are. And so I do think that we do have to have the serious conversation now that less than 47% of people attend churches. I think politicians are people who believe in corruption and so forth. We have to start looking at the corruption in churches. Many of these churches are just really political groups. Franklin Graham is just a political person who doesn't have to report to the FEC.
Well, I think you're almost there. Churches, by their nature, are businesses and social clubs.
Right.
And there is a value to having a social club. I for the people that I know that are religious for the right reasons, a lot of it is the comfort that they get of having people that accept them. And there is a lot of power in that. And I love that part about religion, and I love that part about any church or group. When they comfort people, they comfort people that have lost spouses, when they've fought with drug addiction and alcohol addiction, and the church comforted them and helped them and sheltered them and sat by their side and read beautiful Bible verses. And there are some beautiful passages in Psalms and all that. Here's the problem, is the business side of these churches have had a long and cruel history, including modern history, of abusing financially people, and also, in a legal sense, they use church doctrine and church power to justify Jim Crow laws and slavery, and influence people that we're and when you have a practice that's born out of medieval thinking and ancient thinking, and you don't modernize that, and you don't start putting a modern spin, now we have the Google machine. Now we can just look that up in an instant and go, well, the Bible doesn't say that.
Okay, Jenny,
It doesn't. We can
Hey,
counteract this stuff.
Hey, Jen, sorry to cut you off, but we got to play these videos, and then we got to we only got like 20 minutes left. But we're going to play a couple of videos. But just to be fair, religion is not just influencing the Republican Party. We've got it in our own Democratic Party. We actually have, and this was difficult for me to see here in North Carolina, and it's around everywhere else. We actually have elected officials like George Dunlop, who, to me, are idiots, and I think one of the reasons why our churches are leaving, because if you're an educated professional person, and a young person especially, and you hear statements that George Dunlop makes, you go, that's not the church I want to go to. I mean, if you're a product of your church and whatever, they're doing a bad job because you're kind of stupid. And so I do think that people who are looking at these things, that the reason they're not, I have been to Democratic events where they start with a prayer.
Yeah. And
I have been to, luckily our city council does a moment of silence or, those kind of things. But I'm like, what the heck what is this? What kind of craziness? And we have Democratic city council people and county commissioners and people who just do it maybe to get votes, who quote Jesus and quote the Bible. I'm like, what the hell? I mean, you're just showing people that you're not very bright. I mean, can you imagine that happening in our professional world? Can you imagine being in a business and going to your employees, well, Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny, which that's the way it sounds to other people. And so I do have to say, in full disclosure, we have some crazy ass people in our Democratic Party who use religion. No, and I do think that, and especially, our community, this show is for the Latinx community, but we spend a lot of time in our African-American Black community. Religion is very important in that community. It has helped them through many, many things. And I don't speak on behalf of that community. I can say what I observe. I can tell you that there are a lot of people in that community who are leaders, who are very religious and are doing some really good stuff, doing great things. And there are people like George Dunlop who use religion and are just idiots. And I think it's a disservice to the community when you have those people, because they, I don't know. It just floors me when I hear someone say something like that. It makes me wonder, well, now I know why your district is so crappy to live in. It's because they have a crappy, no, really, do y'all think about that?
Probably need to play the videos before we
go.
Yeah,
let's play the videos before I get myself in trouble. All right, so this is what happens. And so it's possible to upset your pastor if you don't agree with him. This is one video that we're going to play. Let's see, where are you? Which one is it? That one there? Can you see that video?
Yep.
Okay.
We got some people under this tent right now. You have the hardest time keeping your mouth shut about your church. So I'm going to sit here for about 15 seconds and just give you a chance to leave anytime you want to. Because we need your seat anyhow, you complaining judgmental Pharisee. You can leave anytime you want to. I'm just going to sit here for a minute and let you walk out. If you can call me out behind closed doors, why don't you be man up, put on your big boy pants, stand up and walk out right now in front of everybody, you coward. Oh, I'm about fired up this morning. Turn this microphone up. I'm fired up. That's a big tent door. You can leave anytime you want to. You critical hypocrite, you Pharisee. If you think I'm going to stop just because you want me to, you have lost your mind. I'm just getting started good. I'm just now calling out Joe Biden. I'm just now preaching against the LGBTQ community. I'm just now calling out abortion. I'm just now talking about election fraud. I'm just now talking about Antifa and Black Lives Matter. I'm just now calling out this wicked nonsense. You might as well leave while everybody's clapping so nobody will see you.
All right. So that was a pastor who got really upset because he had saw on social media that a lot of his people that were going to these tent events, I guess it's like a tent pastor because they can't really afford a church. I don't know. I'm just saying what I see here. got upset that he was told that some people think that he's being too political and too hateful. And he got his panties in a wad. And just, so I don't know. I just wanted to play that. Would anybody want to say anything about that?
Yeah, and Christian, probably before that, he tells those people, God told me to say this.
Yes.
These words came to me from God this week. I am speaking for God. And it puts fear in people.
Wow.
So, but you know, we've been talking about the dumbing down of America, and there are many, I'm sure, reasons why I think America is dumbing down a public education system. I think we just don't value it as much as we have. We had conversations before, Jenny and I and all of us, about how we used to value public education. Our local public schools, they were like our treasures. We did it. We volunteered for them. We did everything.
Yeah, but hang on.
Sure.
Where the one point that
Sure.
you maybe just didn't get to in time
Okay.
is that these religious zealots that are going to the school board meetings are the ones that are fighting teaching science, trying to teach creationism instead of evolution, trying to teach. So they're purposely pushing science to the side. We've seen this with the vaccine and the mask too, but they've been working behind the scenes and publicly and privately and suing school districts for teaching science, teaching about birth control, teaching about deals. So they're creating the situations. They are seeding the deal. That's why they'll sue the school district, so they can have these quasi publicly funded private schools like school choice, where they can teach this crap. And so it's not just an innocent, oh, we didn't mean to do that Urkel moment. It is, they've been methodically defunding and fraudulently pushing schools not to teach the scientific method, not to teach critical thinking, not to question our history, just believe that slavery wasn't that bad, that the Civil War was over states' rights, when we all know it was about slavery, know. And so when you methodically try to teach, pull all the scientifically and historically proven facts out of the school books, well, what are they teaching?
Yeah.
What are they teaching?
Melba, you want to add something real quickly?
Wow.
Yeah, do you know that Americans have a higher rate of belief in young earth creationism than any other industrialized country? Americans believe that this means that Americans believe that humans were created in our present form 10,000 years ago. Evolution by natural selection is a cornerstone, of course, of modern biology, but it's controversial now in American schools because of the creationalists. It's the same thing that prevents them from believing in climate change, even though that has been proven. And there is an evangelical creation museum where it teaches that dinosaurs lived along with humans 6,000 years ago. And the CEO, Ken Ham, of the evangelical group, believes that dinosaurs were saved by Noah's Ark. And in the museum, it shows people riding dinosaurs. Now we're talking.
So I saw that meme about 4 years ago. It was Fred Flintstone riding the dinosaur. And I agree. It is what I love about millennials, and I say this all the time, millennials, I hope, are going to save this country. Millennials are the eye roll generation. I hope millennials, when they hear this and they're watching this and they're going,
But Christian, now we've got so many little church schools on every corner, and this is what they're teaching, because they don't have to follow the state curriculum as a public school. This is what is being taught to our young people across the country.
So real quickly, Jenny, how is those little church schools any different? And they have them in the Black community, they have them in the white community, they have them in the Latino community. We have little church schools. How are those church schools any different than little Taliban church schools?
There isn't. So, when you get into theocratical rule, whether it's, you
That's
know,
what they allow.
we're seeing Republicans.
Yeah.
We're seeing Republicans doing the same policies that we criticize Afghanistan and Iran doing.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
so therein lies your problem. When you base your laws on a belief system, well, whoever's at the top of that pyramid is who's in charge. And so we go with we as the people cease to be in a democracy. We'll serve at the whim of these religious leaders. And so when they say, all of a sudden they get a wild hair and go, well, homosexuality is wrong. We're going to wipe out the homosexuals. When we don't want women to have the ability to own property again. We don't want women to have their own checking accounts again. Guess what? They're going to try to take women's rights away. They're going to find ways to take people out of the system.
Jenny, I need to play these other videos real quickly because then we got to wrap up. We've got about 10 minutes left. So, I think the dumbing down of America has been going on for a while, probably a generation, maybe even longer. Maybe it just seems like we just noticed it a lot more in the last 4 years because of anti-vaxxers, anti-maskers, anti-science people. We knew it with the anti-climate change people back, that's why I ran against Robert Pittenger, because he was so anti-logic.
Right.
To me, this is what those things lead into. This is the type of people that it develops and it makes. Here's one of them. Let's see, and let's play this one here.
That happened in Denver, Colorado. And the sign that she tore up said, "Love science." That's right, love science. So this psychotic lady in the red, white, and blue flag shirt was driving by a complete stranger's house, saw the sign that said "Love science," parked her car, pulled the sign up, went to their front door, ripped it up while banging on their Ring doorbell. Holy batshit crazy. Listen, Cult 45, Trumpist, QAnon, this is the de-evolution of the human species. We have reached the height of politicizing science. These idiots have literally declared a war on fucking science. This literally kills people. That's a problem. And we as a society are tired of you fucking idiots. This is not freedom. This is not patriotism. You're not doing anything good for anybody. So from now on, every time you do this dumb shit, people like me are going to make you famous. So I'm going to put a screenshot of her up one more time. And let's make her famous.
So Jenny, tell us who this person is. This gentleman.
So this is the Jolly Ginger, and I follow him on Instagram and a deal. He's a pro Black Lives Matter, pro Antifa, progressive Democrat, and he's also served our country. He did 3 tours in Afghanistan and Iraq. And very, very, very much about our country, but also common sense and defending people actual rights instead of just parroting a bunch of crazy stuff. But he's absolutely hilarious, Tara.
So let's play.
Hilarious. Oh my God.
So let's play one more, and then we're gonna try to close out here, or maybe talk about some good things. Let's do this one here. Can y'all see that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Okay.
That's right. It's time for another anti-vax story. This time it's Josh, who on May 7th said, "I trust my immune system, not a shot. My DNA, my choice." Then on August 16th, he said, "Just because someone isn't afraid of COVID doesn't mean he or she doesn't believe in it. He or she understands the risk, but doesn't prioritize fear over life." The very next day, he posts this: "Don't worry, I've had both my shots." Oh, hysterical, Josh. So funny. Then on August 20th in the morning, he says, "I am way more afraid of Joe Biden in the White House than I am of COVID-19. Who else agrees?" No one. And on the evening of August 24th, it's a pie chart. Things I'm worried about: losing my constitutional rights or COVID-19. And there's this little sliver for COVID-19. Josh isn't afraid. But on September 3rd, things take a turn. "Well, people, I'm in the ER with COVID. They can't get my O2 levels to stay up above 60. So now they're talking about moving to ICU and putting me on a vent. I am so scared. Can everyone please say a prayer for me?" And
Why?
just yesterday, Josh's wife wrote this on Facebook after he passed away from COVID-19.
Debunction Junction did that so well, I decided to share theirs instead of doing my own. But is anyone else a little disturbed that his wife posted that he passed with a smiling man with a cake and balloons? It's me? Okay. Oh yeah, get vaccinated.
Yeah.
So
She's one of my favorite bloggers too. I watch her on TikTok and Instagram. She's the crazy runner mom is her handle, and give her a follow and give the Jolly Ginger a follow. But you know, you're seeing this phenomenon of people saying, well, you know, I've got an immune system, I've got this, I've got that, I don't need the vaccination. And there is a reason why we don't have polio 2019
Yes.
or measles 2020. There's a reason why we only talk about those horrific, deadly viruses in the past tense and in the historical tense, and why currently, and I'm gonna say one more thing. There is a scientist and the head of the health department in California that predicted COVID-19 when she saw things trending in California and in China in January of 2020 and tried to warn President Trump. And President Trump had the state of California bury what she said. And she predicted it and said it was preventable and we could stop it, just like we stopped the swine flu and so many other things from really ravaging our country, and Ebola from Africa. And here's the thing, there's a scientific method. There is things that doctors, and as Barb knows, working in the pharmaceutical industry, there is things we could have done to have stopped this and at least contained it. You know, you don't necessarily stop it without a vaccine, but you can at least contain it. And now with a vaccine, we should be done with this. And the fact is, this doctor said just this week, she said, I'm good at predicting stuff, and I'm just going to tell you by the modeling, we're going to fight this for another 1 to 3 years the way we are now because of the vaccine resistance. And we're going to see a tremendous amount of death.
Jenny, thank you. Do y'all mind if we go like 5 minutes over? Melba, are you Barbara, are you okay? I mean, if you get stuff, okay. Only because I want to cover this last thing real quickly and we've already run out of time.
Can I just say one thing?
Please go ahead, Barb.
Because of my background, that's, I guess, my highest frustration level is what happened to the science. But what happened to common sense? What frustrates me more is blah, 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 blah. You know, this is my right and whatever. And doctor friends are telling me, you get them in the hospital and like, give me everything, save my life. You know, what about our poor healthcare workers? How much more can they take? We used to call them heroes. They're so sick and tired of this and fed up. If they would change that Hippocratic oath for one day, maybe people would get the hint. We're not treating you because you didn't get vaccinated and save $25,000. You know, okay, Barbara, I'm done venting, but I don't.
No, Barbara, that was very important that we hear that. And that's the exact reason why I think we have to have this conversation. It doesn't have to be about churches, but we have to have this conversation about America. I just think churches need to accept responsibility and take the lead. How do we stop the dumbing down of America? And this is what happens when we allow it. We get anti-vaxxers, anti-science people, they're just anti-everything. And churches have to accept responsibility. Political parties have to accept responsibility. Families, I think it's a village effort, but we all have to accept.
But Christian, they're not going to just sit down and accept responsibility unless you hold them accountable. So here's the thing, and this is a very important point.
But very quickly, Jenny, because we don't have a lot of time. Go ahead.
This week, we have 17 religious organizations and churches suing the state of New York over the mask mandate and the vaccine mandate.
Yep.
Therein lies your problem. You flip that around and go, okay, we'll roll that back, but every unvaccinated person that dies, you 17 organizations with your leaders, you will be held legally responsible for the deaths. meaning
Yep.
financially,
Mhm.
hospital-wise, and you will be charged with manslaughter.
And that's
So if you're going to prevent us from doing our jobs,
Mhm.
then just like a drunk driver, when you go out and you get drunk and you smash your car and you kill somebody, you get charged with vehicle manslaughter.
That's right.
Sure.
This is manslaughter. And we
right,
need to
so
say it this way. No,
Non-vaccination manslaughter. Yep.
and so
Non-vaccination.
another
Yep.
10,000 unvaccinated people die in the state of New York because of
Yep.
this lawsuit.
well,
You
okay,
get charged
Sure.
10,000 charges
okay, well,
against
that's
the organization, the board, the leaders.
Mhm.
That's how you change this. This
All
is
right.
how you change that.
well, that's the conversation that we need to be having as America. I mean, we need to start having conversations on how do we stop the dumbing down. There's a lot of reasons why, but I would think that the churches who have always tried to lead with things would also accept the responsibility and take the lead, which is why I was disappointed we couldn't get any pastors on here, because I think they have to accept the lead for how we have dumbed down America. But by saying that, let's talk about some of the great things that churches do. But before we talk about some of the great things that churches do, if anybody who's an Andy Griffith show fan, I watch that show religiously almost every night. It's just amazing how relaxing that show is. They actually did an episode, if you guys remember who follow that show, about trying to get people vaccinated. There was a nurse that came into town, and I was reminded of that episode on social media, and some buffoon posted on that, I bet the churches wouldn't have been forced to be vaccinated. And of course, my response was, no, you idiot, because at that time, the churches were responsible. They would have been pushing for safety for they were pro-life, not pro-stupid at that time.
And that is an important point.
Yeah.
I wanted to jump in real quick.
Sure.
The Biden administration recruited local religious leaders all over the country to do door-to-door campaigns and do that. And it has worked somewhat. We have seen the vaccination rates go up a little bit because of the influence that many progressive churches have. So there is a lot of value. I've seen several pictures lately of videos and photos of lines wrapped around the houses of worship that did the polio vaccine campaign. And it was led mostly by pastors, local leaders, educators, where they said, you know what, we need to beat this. We need to rally.
And with everything we've said, there are a lot of churches and pastors and people of faith who are doing those things. Yes, and those are the good things that I think that get overridden by, numbskulls like Franklin Graham or the other churches. The two pastors, the married couple that was in the Charlotte Observer about they're ready to sue Mecklenburg County. They got their lawyers all lawyered up, and then of course Judge George Dunlop says they gotta do what they gotta do. He's basically saying sue us. I'm fine with that.
And here's the thing: you have organizations like Wedgewood, for example, that have a food pantry, do so much good in the community. And that's the kind of leadership we need from our churches, is what Wedgewood does, which are a complete accepting and affirming LGBT campus as well. The work that they've done for so long, this isn't nothing new. Wedgewood has a history of protecting the trans community and even empowering the trans community like 25 years ago. So there are religious organizations that do phenomenal work. And they could again. So this is a dare to be great moment. If you want to restore greatness to America, knock it off. Quit killing people. Quit killing kids. Quit leaving kids. Like I just saw a report this morning before we went on the air. A married couple both died of COVID. The woman was dying of COVID and on a ventilator as she was giving birth to their 5th child.
Yeah.
She never saw her baby being born. And her hubby died a few hours later. They have 5 kids total, including a newborn, that now have both parents wiped out because of COVID. And here's the thing, whether they were vaccinated or not, whatever the case may be, because there's so many people unvaccinated, we're killing 4-year-olds like that in Galveston that can't get the vaccine. We are killing kids. We're killing people's grandparents. We're killing new,
Yeah.
brand new mothers. We're
Hey,
killing
Jen,
people and we're leaving orphans
Sure.
behind.
I
It's time to rally. It's
I agree.
time that we
So-
lock arms and go,
Sure.
this is ridiculous. We're killing
Yeah.
our neighbors. We're killing Americans. We're killing the vulnerable. Like we did on 9/11.
Yeah.
If we can rally against hate,
Mhm,
why the fuck can we not rally and save lives?
mhm.
I've had enough. I've had enough of this stupidity.
Yeah.
And this is beyond, this is anti-patriotic. It's anti-American.
Yep.
It is letting our lesser angels win.
Mhm,
When we look and laugh emoji about people's deaths,
mhm.
it is crazy. It's unhinged that we're letting people die. And I'm not talking about the pastors that die that are anti-vax. I don't have any sympathy for them. I'm sad for that 4-year-old girl that died
Sure.
within a matter of hours in Galveston. Was so sick they couldn't even ventilate her because she died before they could get her on treatments. That's how fast she died.
I agree.
That's where I'm pissed.
Melba, tell us some great things that are happening in the churches.
All right. Well, first of all, piggybacking on what Jenny said, I have 3 friends today that will probably lose family members within the next 48 hours because they would not get vaccinated. Families who the majority of them did get vaccinated, begged them to get vaccinated. And now they have to watch this happen. It's heartbreaking. And most of those people who claim that they don't believe in science, that their faith will get them through, they're lying. Because once they get sick, the first place they go is to science, to our
Exactly.
medical community to try to save them.
Save
Churches
them,
are doing
save
great
them.
things. Wedgewood, our page is wedgewoodchurch.org. We're also on Facebook. We're on every Sunday morning. We have a very, very large food pantry that the community has supported. But we have lots of things that are going on. We have the food pantry. We work with Outpour, which is providing showers for the homeless people of town. We have a community garden. If you'd love to come be outside and work in our garden, we have a lot going on. And there are many churches in Charlotte who have a lot of things going on and are out there doing. So if you're a church going person, seek out those churches.
Yep.
They need your support. They need you not to just say, oh, I've heard that's a great church. They need you to get involved, either financially or by doing something. And gardening you can do outside if you're fearful. But the other thing is talk to your children. Talk to your children about the LGBT community. Talk to your children about immigrants and why they come here. Talk to them about their friends who may be Muslim in school and have a different set of religious values. Talk. Talk to your children. Talk to your neighbors. Those are some of the best things I can think of to do. But just know, all churches aren't on that same vein. There are many great, awesome churches out there doing great things in this community.
Right.
So seek one out, and we'd love to see you at Wedgewood, wedgewoodchurch.org.
Thank you, Melba. Barb, you have any good things to say about churches?
I was going to say, I'm going to try to get involved, and I'm thinking, what day is that going to be, Barb? You know, I am unwinding from certain things, and I'm really glad to hear about your church, Melba. And I've got 2 families that I'm working with, and they want to do some things. So I'll give them that website. They can look it up. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think if you watch this show and we may talk about topics that maybe other people may not want to talk about openly, but I think these are conversations we have to have. And I don't think I can just, I know Jenny, but we don't talk about these topics because out of hate. We talk about these topics out of love, because we know how important these organizations are for people in general, regardless. I can tell you, and I've said this before, there's only one, the thing that makes me cry the most about pride parades is seeing the churches march in the pride parade. And I just start bawling. And I can, even to this day, it makes me so emotional because I know how important that is for so many young LGBTQ plus people who may have grown up in a church family or a religious family or whatever the case may be, or maybe even in Crazy George Dunlop's church, to see these affirming, loving people, to let them know you're loved.
You're okay.
And that is just so, but it shows you that the need, there is still need for a lot of these churches and organizations. And unfortunately, some of these other churches that are the anti-maskers, the anti-vaxxer kind of churches that are really just political groups, they overshadow the good work that so many good churches are doing. So Jenny, I know you want to say something real quickly, then we got to wrap up.
Yeah, I think the difference between a Wedgewood and a self-serving church is exactly that. People of Wedgewood, and I know I led a service on Mother's Day weekend to talk about gender and nurturing versus it just being a gendered holiday. And the beautiful people that I got the privilege of speaking to are people that serve their community, like Barb, like Melba, like Christian, that we are servant leaders. We love our community. We fight for our community every day in so many different ways. And that's the beauty of a servant leader church like Wedgewood that leads by example and not try to pretend to speak for some kind of deity. And because like George Dunlap, when he said that Jesus wouldn't wear a mask, he was speaking for Jesus. And you don't speak for Jesus when you're a person of faith. Jesus may speak to you, but you don't speak for Jesus. You're not a representative of that in that way. And how we need to learn how to lead in this country and the dialogues that we need to do is that even our public servants, whether it's President Biden, all the way down to our local officials, as they're public servants, they work for us. They interview, as Christian says many times articulately, every time they run for office, it's an interview process.
That's
and
correct.
We, the people, need to take this serious, just like California did yesterday and said, not in this state, and push back against this anti-science, unhinged rhetoric that's killing people, and have a referendum on science and say, I want leaders that are public service oriented like Governor Newsom, that has done a phenomenal job despite some pretty powerful pushback in his own state from a Republican minority.
So we need to,
his acceptance speech was one of humility, grace, and thankfulness, and resolved him to keep doing what he's doing. And that's what we all, is I take my representation of the transgender community especially very serious. Every time I walk into a room, I realize I have the weight of that on my shoulders. And I take that very serious. And I tell you, this week alone, I've talked two of my friends into getting vaccinated that I did not know were unvaccinated. And not so I could take credit for it.
That's an
But
accomplishment.
to save their lives, that I don't want them to die. And I know that 1 out of 35 people that get Delta unvaccinated, they're going to die. And I don't want to play. That is why I post about getting vaccinated every single day. And both of them got vaccinated because of my post. They both messaged me and said, thank you, Jenny, for saving my life. I'm going, no, thank yourself for saving your own life and advocating for your own life.
Having the bravery to do it.
And willing to do that. And please post about your vaccination stories and inspire others. And that's what we need to do.
So
One quick last word. I'm fully vaccinated. My husband is fully vaccinated. I picked up Delta on a flight back to Charlotte from Chicago. Didn't know I had it. No symptoms. Felt great. Passed it on to my husband. Was diagnosed with the Delta COVID. Of course, he picked it up from me. It is no fun. I am still dealing with a few issues that it has left. But I was home and I am alive today, I believe, because I had that vaccine. And that is exactly what the doctor has told me. He looked at our lung x-rays and said, I would never know either one of you had COVID. That is your vaccine at work.
That's great.
Wow.
Get
Great news.
vaccinated. Get vaccinated.
That's why we have to have the conversation in America. What is dumbing down America? Is it religion? I don't know. All I can tell you is I said this 3 or 4 years ago. I think some of my family members who are all people of faith, I have done a unscientific survey, and I encourage everyone to do it. Look at all your friends on Facebook or social media. Go around and look at their postings. Usually the ones that are very evangelical or religious in that sense are usually posting things that are pray for me because of this, and it's all drama and this it's like, oh my God, this is dry. I mean, I don't know. The ones that are happy are the ones that don't go to church. And just that little unscientific survey, I thought to myself, if I was a young person and wanted to know if I wanted to go to church, I don't want to be like that aunt. I want to be like this uncle, because they got too much drama. I mean, if you have to pray for something every single day, maybe you're not praying to the right person, or something's not working. So that's my little humor in there. And family members who are watching this, I wasn't talking about you, I was talking about other people. So with that said, let's go around the Brady Bunch screen and tell us where you're going to be. And thank you so much. We've gone way over. As Jenny and I have said, it's hard for us to keep within an hour, but when we get our show on radio, we're going to have to keep it within an hour, Jenny, or they're going to cut our mics off. So we're going to be like, cut. So let's go around the Brady Bunch screen. Tell us where we're going to be in 30 seconds or less. We got Jenny, looks like it's Melba, then Barb. Tell us where you're going to be.
Okay, so I have a Pride meeting tonight. I believe it's at 6 or 6:30. And then on Friday, it is my birthday. And so I turned 25 again. And so going to a drag show and going out to dinner with Christian and Andrew. So we're going to go let our hair down and probably dance a little. So we're going to have a good time.
Have a great time. Yeah.
We'll be on Zoom at 10:30 Sunday morning, 10:30 to 11 o'clock. We just have coffee and chit chat, and we sit around and talk about anything we want to talk about. So the service begins at 11 to 12 is the service, and then if you want to stay, 12 to 12:30 is the time just to discuss the message that was brought to us today and to share your thoughts on it. Check us out, please. Don't worry about what you believe or you don't believe. If we ask every member at Wedgewood what to describe God, we would get as many different answers as we have members. So that is nothing to worry about. There's no creed. So join us 11 o'clock on Zoom for our services every Sunday morning, wedgewoodchurch.org and on Facebook. Thank you.
Thanks, Melba. Well, I'm going to be doing my volunteering thing for the rest of the week. I travel up to Winston-Salem and here locally. And I have increased my walking to handle my frustration. So it's good for the waistline, you guys. And now I'm going to check out the website. Thank you so much for this. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Barbara. It's great to see you. I know you're so busy. We've talked back and forth emails that retirement is more work than actually working. So I think Melba confirmed that before the show as well. So thank you for everything you do. We need people like you in our communities to keep us going. And there's so many wonderful people in our communities. I think we're going to the country this weekend, and then I'm going to Texas next week. So I will see you all masked up and bubbled up from Texas next week. Next week's show, I think we may have Dr. B back. We're going to be comparing 2020 to 2021, how we're doing with COVID-19. It'd be interesting. And then our last show of the month is going to be, is Medicare Advantage a scam? We'll be talking about Medicare Advantage. Last year we had a show about Medicare Advantage, educating people, because most people don't know the difference between Medicare and Medicare Advantage. They think it's the same thing. It's not. One's private, run by private insurance companies, and one's what we know as Medicare. And so we'll be talking about that. But before we end the show, just a quick thing. when I ran in 2016, I was in, I think it was Richmond County, and I was working at a poll on election day. And this lady came up to me, and I handed her my palm card. And she said, "What do you think about separation of church and state?" And I pulled out my Constitution. I said, "Well, it's in our Constitution. This is." And she literally, right in front of me, she crumbled my palm card, threw it on the ground, and said, "It's not even in the Constitution. It was just something the founding fathers, Thomas Jefferson, made up. It's a term Thomas Jefferson made up." At that time I wasn't confrontational. I just kind of, "Thank you. I appreciate your vote." I was being sarcastic because I knew she wouldn't vote for me. She threw my thing on the ground. So I walked away and I told my body person, the person who's with me everywhere, I said, "I don't think she realizes that Thomas Jefferson was one of the founding fathers." And it was just, it's so, even back then I knew some of the church people were not very bright as far as the Constitution. It was just, I just thought that was something that always stuck with me, that she actually literally threw that. I actually have that crumbled up thing saved in my little safe here. I always remember that. But anyway, thank you so much, everyone. We value your time. I'm so sorry. Those who watch us later, as most people do, we get about 2,000 people that watch us the week after we post it online. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope that you got something from this and have these conversations at your home. Stay on if you don't mind, if you're on Zoom, so we can do a brief promo. We miss your Mama Ruth. Stephen, we miss you as well. I think this is a topic Stephen would have been great. He's a libertarian.
Oh, he would have been hilarious.
Yeah, he would have been great on this one. All right, we'll see y'all later. Bye.